Hello heathens, PB here. On one of my videos I had a viewer ask me about iron finds and showing them and stuff like that, and I mean pretty open-ended question, so I didn't know exactly what he was asking for, but just figured I'd show some of the iron stuff I've got at my place, which I'm working on. As you can see, I've got bucket loads of iron. All this stuff here comes from the rail town. Right here, got lots of spikes and bits and bobs, pieces of rail handle, I guess, axe head. I guess that should go with the tools, really. Stove door, bell, part of an axe, stuff like that. Another part of an axe, broken, obviously. And I know you've probably seen all these in the videos. There's a wedge, so looks like a wedge to me anyway. But out here they're just sitting in the sun. I'm really just trying to bake them so I can bake the rust off. It takes longer, but hey, it works. I got a piece of rail right here, which the rust is slowly baking off. This is a pre-1871 iron rail, so this is and judging from the height here, this is Union Pacific. This is on one of my previous videos. Lug this baby out. You can see where the rail is failing from the weight of the trains, and 1871 is when they started switching over to steel rail. So this just tells you that this is most likely Transcontinental Railroad right here, which is cool. I got other stuff up here that's cooking. Another piece of rail. You can see where it failed. Iron rail. You can see the rust right here where it's, you know, starting to pit off and stuff. None of these are branded though. It really surprised me. And yeah, boy, I tell you, you got cooking egg on this right now. And here's some of the tools that I found. Part of a mallet or a hammer, I guess. Chisels of some type. And I think these are the ones that had the metal wire, iron handles of some type. This one here is actually done pretty well. I actually soaked this one and this one and this one and this one in a rust remover, and it removed a lot of the rust, and I was able to chip off the rest of it. That actually looks really, really nice. What I'm going to do with these is get them super hot, and one of these days when my buddy's going to bring some old motor oil over from the construction company he works at, and I'm just going to soak them in the oil, put them in there hot, take them out, let them cook again, put them in hot, and eventually hopefully it replaces this rust and they get that good total finish again like it used to. This one's stamped TD, so we can assume that's probably for train depot and whatever. And then this one, which this one wasn't a find. This was actually, well, it was kind of a find. Had a gentleman down the road was moving, giving away a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, literally bottles and everything. And in there was this, and it was all coated in rust. I threw it in the rust remover, and it's the oh good lord, San Pedro, I think it is, Los Angeles and Salt Lake Railroad. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Obviously you can see where they got rid of it because the ends finally snapped. And what's cool about this is you can see the difference in the metal here, and then you can see how this was tempered and hardened for the job that it was supposed to do. Obviously that's not a metal detecting find. Still a bit of history. I don't sell my stuff, but because I didn't metal detect this one, that one I would contemplate letting go because I didn't find it myself. And then obviously I got my Central Pacific Railroad Company, Sacramento, California, 1865 builder's plate, and that's actually doing pretty well. I've been able to take even this old tool here and just knock that rust off. So eventually that will be totally, all the flaky rust will be gone, and I'll be able to soak that in oil. So now over here I've got stuff that I've painted with a rust reformer, as it's called. There's Rust-Oleum getting its free plug, I guess. Here's that rust remover that I used on the tools. Rough Rescue, Metal Rescue, Rust Remover Bath, and I got this at Ace Hardware. And I just basically I throw them in there with it. When I'm done, I throw it back in here. So this is old stuff, but it still works. And like I said, you know, the gentleman on the viewer, gentleman it was a male, was asking about my iron finds. I didn't know exactly what he was wanting. So this stuff here I've painted with that reformer. And it basically was just to stop the rust. Yeah, I flaked off as much as I could, and then I sprayed it. And I actually think it looks pretty good. These are obviously shovels from the railroad town. All this is from that same railroad town as all the iron is over there. I don't know if it was a pan. This was found where the Chinese stuff was found. I think it would be a good display if I was to put a bunch of Chinese stuff, you know, coins and stuff like that. That would make a good display right there. Obviously the old stove iron, lynch pin, and then that was actually a file that they'd started making a knife out of when it was discarded. And if you look carefully, you can actually see the file teeth and whatever. I'm assuming that this was like a handmade. Obviously you can see it's raw iron, and it was made into a hook. And then my two bottoms of the journal box plate. Let me try it again. Journal box plate covers. Try saying that drunk. I dare you. Anyway, this one's 1871, 1875. These are both Central Pacific Railroad Company. I've got more stuff downstairs, and a lot of that stuff is electrolysis, and that's what I started doing about 5 years ago. And quite honestly, the reason I don't do the electrolysis now is I just don't have the time. I've got so many other irons in the fire. I do not have the time to do electrolysis. This is so much easier. And again, it preserves it still. I mean, to me, that's good enough for a display in any museum like that. You know, what you want is just be able to just explain what it is, right? This one here is actually, I mean, that is heavy, and that reason being is it is literally all rust. That one I have to handle so delicately. I'm afraid to chip it anymore. I think it would just disintegrate. But right now it's held together with the paint. I mean, look at that rust. I've got to respray a bit there on the back. So, but anyway, let's pop inside and I'll show you the stuff that I've got downstairs. All right. Okay, so we're downstairs and we're in my what I affectionately call the Man Cave Museum. You'll have to excuse the mess though, it's in a lot of flux right now. There's my library. Oh! We'll be going over here in a little bit. Real quick, that gentleman that was giving away all the bottles, this is some of the bottles that he was giving away. I mean, I literally walked away with, I'd conservatively say 200 bottles. The best bottle though, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it is a C Conrad and Company original Budweiser. And best I can tell from the bottom is that it is about 1870s. Now I've got some lime away, and I'm probably going to soak it in lime away to see if I can get rid of the scaling that's on there. But that's probably the favorite bottle. I mean, you've got some just beautiful, this is about 1890s I believe, beautiful bottles here. Nice ink well, another nice ink well. Now this one's here, I know we're getting sidetracked off the iron, but yeah, who cares, it's history, right? Now that says Donahue and Hassel, and you can just make out Utah. Now best I can tell, I think it's J.W. Harper whiskey. Best I can tell is they had a saloon in Eureka, Utah in 1896, and it burnt down. So that was probably distributed by this Donahue and Hassel out of Eureka, Utah. So that's very cool. That was one of the bottles that was in that collection. A whole bunch of whiskey bottles. and whatever. And then I mean, some of the just some of this glass is just. Let me see if I can find. Oh, there we go. I mean, look at that. I don't know if you can see it. It's just beautiful. No seam lines, nothing. Absolute beautiful, beautiful glass. Anyway, like I said, excuse the mess. But it is what it is. It's a work in progress. All right, back to the metal. Okay, so I've got two drawers here that I've got metal and iron of some type. Actually, in this one, we've just got two that are in here. Actually, I've got these forks I've not even touched yet. I need to get working on them. Obviously, iron spoons. Haven't even touched them, they're just sitting in here. This is one of the first finds I had out of another site in the Utah territory. And it was obviously a hammer, and I did electrolysis on that. And that's the way it stayed ever since. So hopefully you can see that. This is another shovel. Let me bring it out here so you guys can see it. Guys and girls, sorry. As you can see, that was spray painted. I should have kept this part. That part's still out there somewhere, because it probably would have had the name of the maker on it. And that was after I'd done research. I didn't realize that till I got back. But yeah, that was a nice 1870s shovel. It's in good nick too, really. See the rivets and all that stuff. I think that's like I said, I use that paint, and I think that's a good way to go if you want to be, I guess minimum preserve it. Okay, now this is some of my other iron in here, and some of it's been touched, some of it has not. Let's move this up over here. Here's obviously a sardine can, not touched, just sitting there, still covered in rust. I might put one of these in the rust remover and just see what it does. This is a hot hands, and actually my buddy VT Mining found this and he gave it to me, and we didn't know what it was until I went up to the Museum of the Mountain Man up there in Pinedale, of all places, which I recommend. They've increased the fee to $10, but I tell you right now, if you want a place that's full of history and full of relics that you can get nose length away from through the glass, go to that place. Museum of the Mountain Man, highly recommended. Anyway, because they had some of these in there, and I was like, aha, that's what it is. So it's a hot hands. It would have gone on the end of an anvil, and it would enable you to cut iron if you were cutting pieces off. Obviously, this lock I've not touched yet. It's just sitting there. You see the rust is falling off. Here's the difference between two locks. One's been electrolysis, and the other one was not. And this is a pin that was found out there at one of the sites in the Utah territory. That was electrolysis. And the cool thing, I guess the cool thing about electrolysis is if you look, you can see the grain in the iron because it removes all the impurities too. So that's kind of cool. Here's some mule shoes and an ox shoe. Ox shoe was just found on the surface. That's how it was. So it had that shiny rust on it. So I didn't bother with that one. This mule shoe obviously had an epic failure of some type. And excuse the cat, he wants to come down here and I won't let him come down here. So anyway, again, that was a surface find, so I didn't do anything with that one. These three were all electrolysis. And actually no, this one was apple cider vinegar. This one was apple cider vinegar. I used that. And again, you can see it's iron, you can see it was handmade, you can see the grain in the iron. Again with this mule shoe. Very very thin, very cool. And then this one here, this mule shoe. And then I got some axes over here, which will, excuse me, this is all electrolysis. Obviously axe head. And to me, I could have easily have knocked off the rust and then just painted it. In hindsight, I think that's probably the best thing to do. You've got that video that I did with that axe from the late 1700s, early 1800s, back in England. from a British Napoleonic camp, and I think that came out pretty good. And that was using a paint also that I guess bonds with the rust. Hammer, that was electrolysis. This one was electrolysis. This split. Axe head, and you can see rust is starting to come back again. So these may end up getting spray painted just to be done. And here's a carpenter's hammer, I guess you call it, and that one also split. Whatever, they must have been hammering down on that to cut something. Probably the best one's this one. This was electrolysis, and as you can see the difference in the iron, even the steel, I guess you could say, how part of it's hardened for cutting edge and whatever. This is cool. So anyway, that's it for iron that I've kind of worked on or not worked on for various reasons. I've still got that mule chain, which I got to work on. I'm probably going to go soak this in some of that stuff. In fact, I'll take it up here right now, and I'm going to soak it in that rust remover. I'll just throw it in the bottle, leave it for a couple of days, and then pull it out and see what it looks like. It's probably going to end up in oil, so it gives that good oily effect. But anyway, so that's it. That's some of the iron I've been working on. It's not all the iron, obviously. And yeah, well, I appreciate you tagging along if you stayed for the whole video. Not that exciting, but it just shows another part of the process that I guess us relic hunters go through. Real quick, last thing. This is that we thought it might be a shackle of some type. Somebody says it got identified as part of what's known as a Mormon puzzle. I guess it was a shackle that they put on their mules, and for some reason the North American Indians couldn't figure them out. Anyway, so that's what that was. And again, that's not been touched because I found it on the surface. It's got that, doesn't have that loose rust or anything like that. It's just got the rusty finish, and that will stay as it is. But anyway, all right, so appreciate you all coming along. And like I said, not very exciting, but more informational than anything, just to show what I try and do in my off time when I'm not working and gallivanting around doing my other interests. So appreciate it, and happy hunting, and good luck to you all. See ya. Bye.